Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our council meeting. It's Wednesday, November the 29th, 2023. Those of you that are joining with us in person, I would remind you to shut your communication devices off or place them on vibrate. Please note that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded. Recordings will be made available on the town's YouTube website. We acknowledge that this land on which we are gathered today is part of the ancestral land of the Chippewa, the Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples, referred to collectively as the Anishinaabe. It is through the connection of the Anishinaabe with the spirit of the land, water, and the air that we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together as treaty people, we share a shared responsibility to act with respect for the environment that sustains all life, protecting the future for those generations to come. Council, I would remind you, if you have a conflict, to please declare it at the appropriate time. And I remind you that at 6 o'clock sharp, we will be going into the drainage meetings. So we'll be breaking prior to that so the drainage committee can take over. Clerk, will go to item number 4. Do we have any delegations this evening?
No.
Thank you. Council will go to item number 5. Clerk, is there anything in business arising from the previous meeting?
Nothing at this time, Worship.
Okay, thank you. Council, I'll direct your attention to item number 6. 6.1. I have a motion by Councillor Bojan, seconded by Councillor Vasey. That minutes be adopted by council and that those confidential minutes of the closed sessions of council remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. That would be our planning council meeting minutes of October the 30th, our regular council meeting minutes of November the 8th, our special council meeting minutes of November 14th, our closed special council meeting minutes of November 14th, as well as our special council meeting minutes of November the 23rd, and our closed special council meeting minutes of November the 23rd. Council, you've had an opportunity to review those minutes. Is there any questions? Hearing none, call those in favor. Carried. Okay, council are going to take you to 6.2. A motion by Councillor Vasey, seconded by Councillor Bojan, that the minutes be adopted by council and that those confidential minutes, the closed sessions remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy. That would be our Fire Executive Committee meeting minutes of August the 14th. The Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery Committee meeting minutes of October the 12th. Our Fire Exec Committee meeting minutes of October the 16th. And our Fire Executive Committee budget meeting October the 26th, 2023. We have the chair of both of those committees here, Councillor Wolvet. Is there any questions? Hearing, yes, Deputy.
I was wondering, I read in those minutes that there's going to be maybe a third-party company to collect these from the MTO, from the insurance companies.
You're referring to the fire?
Yes, firemen.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought our staff was doing that. We don't need to hire a company.
That I will defer that to either Councillor Wolvet or our CAO for an answer.
There's 2 areas that possibly one of them we can collect money. That's through a company that deals with the insurance companies and takes a little cream off it to collect money from fires, from like house fires and stuff like that, through their personal insurance companies. That was, Kristen had brought that up. We had brought that up in the past, but for some reason fire department wasn't willing to put the time in to go after that. This new chief certainly is Kristen brought it up, and he's going to look into that. So there could be some funds coming there. I think they take about 30%, if I'm not mistaken, in the conversation. The other one is the MTO. The MTO, in the past has brought in a significant amount of money from anything happening on that 402 to the fire department. And something we've been fighting certainly since COVID to get these applications in. You only have 90 days to get the application in, or that's it. They're null and void. You can't collect a penny. So our new fire chief is committed to getting that in. He's already been dealing with it. So anything going on that 402, there's a certain amount of money paid for our equipment per fire truck. I'm not sure the exact of the figures, but it's $400 or $500 an hour or something for each fire truck. So he's going after that for extra income for the fire.
But I'm just thinking that why pay another firm when we have staff here that maybe.
Well, I don't know the answer to that other than the paperwork.
Well,
Apparently,
yes, of course it's gonna be.
yeah, like it's when you're dealing with insurance companies, it can be a long thing. Now, what's the name of this company, Chris? It's.
I think CAO.
Chairperson, well, can I help?
Yes.
So billing to the MTO is through a separate system.
Yeah.
It's through an RWIS system, which is a program that we subscribe to.
Right.
And staff have been directed to re-implement that as soon as possible. I'll follow up with Chief Campbell as well as our support staff to make sure that's ongoing.
Okay.
The third party potential billing is for insurance companies only related to property damage, whether that be
Okay,
auto
that
accidents
explains.
or house fires.
Fire Marquee.
I don't care what it means.
Fire Marquee is the name of the company that will do it for, I believe, 30%. 35. Okay. So right now it's an ongoing process. It's I don't know where the chief's going to take it, but it sounded like he will pursue it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Deputy? Any further questions? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, council, let's go to 6.3. Counselor's report. Deputy?
Right, Mr. Wolvett, do you have anything more to report? You're on a roll.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I appreciate that question. I attended Adam had, our CAO had sent out an invitation to all counselors for the AOR's meeting. That's the Association of Road Supervisors meeting in Florence, which I sent an email in and to Aaron, I believe, or Al, I'm not sure, that I would be attending. So I did attend that event last week at my own expense and mileage. It was no charge to the council, but it was extremely interesting information that comes out of these road supervisors meetings. And we have some of our own public works people there, as did most municipalities in Lambton County. And it explains insurance companies there about liabilities to us if our public works people are doing the right logging, putting up the wrong signs, that type of a thing. So it was a 4-hour meeting, very interesting. So another year, if you get the opportunity and you wonder what the heck is AORs, go down and have a listen, because it is very interesting. So thank you for the invitation to that. I found it very interesting. That's all I have.
Well, that's enough. That's good. And thank you for your attendance at that.
Chicken dinner was great.
That's why that was the clincher. Okay, Mr. Van Claveren.
Yes, Deputy Mayor, just a brief follow-up to a landowner meeting we had yesterday in regards to the Somerville Drain Project in Kunlaki. And that had been revised, and initially that drain was constructed in 1986 to help drain some homes along Egremont Road and King Street. And now with the new subdivision that the Trails Edge subdivision that's being built, the Somerville branch, a portion of it will become obsolete, and a portion will be added to it through the subdivision. So 4 options were presented to do that, and a revised report will be developed in early January. to address that. We'll have another public meeting at that time. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Boughton?
Thank you. Nothing to report on much. The Environmental Services and Special Events meets next week. I'll just say that Christmas in the Village, and the Special Events Committee and all the local community groups, they've all been working together as usual for Christmas in the Village, and that's next Saturday. So just a reminder for everybody. That's all I have.
Mr. Vacy?
Yes, nothing to report. Parks and Rec got moved to December. The Committee of Adjustment was canceled. There's no applications this month. And Christmas in the Village. So it is confirmed and eager to be here.
So yeah, you're on first name basis with him, aren't you?
Yes.
That's okay.
I'm sitting beside Santa.
No.
No, his friend,
I'm his agent.
yeah,
Children watch this.
yes. EG,
I have no reports at this time.
okay, fine. Mayor?
Thank you, Deputy. A couple things since our last meeting, obviously joined with some of our counselors at the Remembrance Day service in Wyoming. And congratulations to Councillor Van Clavin for a very timely message that we shared at that event. I did attend the Municipal Engineers Association Awards in Point Edward. It was province-wide and our local chapter hosted it there. The ruck that was held at the cemetery was, again, I would like to thank some of our counselors that joined with me on that day. Well attended, very good project. And I believe next year they're looking at taking it out to Edmonton that day. Or sorry, for next year. So that was good. I have a laws meeting tomorrow and on Friday, along with our CAO and our drainage superintendent. We're being joined by Warwick's mayor and their people, and we're meeting with MP Gladu. And we're going to be upping some pressure in the House of Commons on the new Minister of Transportation to continue our battle with CN. Today I had County Council and a couple things to share with you, if I may briefly, Deputy. There was a couple presentations, delegation on childcare crisis in Lambton County, as well as one on Ontario Aboriginal Housing Support Service Corporation that are planning on building a new housing facility on Confederation. If you remember, just beside the end of the Good Shepherd, there's a vacant lot, which at one time was the Lambton Shrine Club. That's the property where they're looking at putting it in there. I believe they're looking at 4 or 5 floors of housing, common ground on the bottom. The shovel in the ground looks like it could be the summertime before they get going on that. They also did, we had a presentation today about Huron Shores Area Transit, which connects Lambton Shores, South Huron, Blue Water, Eagle Fix, Kettle and Stony Point, First Nations, and communities such as London, Sarnia, Strathroy, and Goderich. I have a pamphlet that I'll leave if somebody would like to take a look at it. They had some funding to get this underway, and I know they have showed some statistics where the ridership has increased. I believe this year they're looking at probably around 16,000 people that have ridden it at various times. So it was kind of an information session. And there was a report given by Mr. Stephen Turner, the manager of Lambton Emergency Medical Services, that spoke about their proposed master plan for 2024 to 2028. And in that, they're proposing to realign some places, including Brights Grove, which they'd like to basically move to Kamlaki area and erect a facility there for the ambulance. I did raise the point, it would be nice if they would maybe communicate with the municipalities they're looking at going to, because we didn't like hearing about it at the coffee shops or on the street. So I believe they're looking at, by the end of January, a report is supposed to come to each council that is involved. And we're to have the opportunity to comment on it and get it back to the county.
Did you give you any idea of what little spot they might have in mind?
Absolutely not. They did not.
Might be nice to know.
I think I portrayed that in my comment for them, so. That's basically the highlights of today's, kind of cuts. Oh, that thing, the committees, AM committee and PM committees. Which I got switched from PM to AM. Now it's the decision was made to try the committee of the whole. So they're gonna try that for a year to see how that works out, but we'll see. So
Sounds like that might take longer.
there is that possibility. So yeah, that's all that I have. Deputy, what about you?
What about me? I went to 2 museum meetings and they're going to refresh their displays out there and they're gonna get some input from Dana Thorne from the
Lambton Museum.
yeah, from there, from the county. And so she should have some good ideas on that. I also went to dueling pianos, so I can't hear very as well as I used to, you know, but the dueling pianos out of Kimlaki. And it was hard on the ears. And I was really impressed with that wreck with us at the cemetery that I'm glad I just went to the cemetery and didn't walk from Sarnia though. It made things a lot easier. So, and that's all I've got. So I think we're done with their counselor's report.
Councilor Wabet?
Nettie, when the museum, when is their meeting? Is there, they have a meeting that we're invited to? Is that for December? Is
We
that?
canceled that because
Oh.
there was no response last, there was, I shouldn't say no, there was very poor response last year, so.
Yeah, no,
We're not having, they are not having one in December.
thank you.
Okay. That's it.
All right, thank you. Thank you, councilors. Clerk, let's go to 7.1. Any items under accounts?
Nothing at this time, your worship.
All right, we go to 8.1, staff reports. I have a motion by Councilor Van Claveren, seconded by Councilor Wilvet, that the report prepared by Adam Sabansky, Chief Administrative Officer, dated November 16th, 2023, regarding the user agreement between the town of Plympton-Wyoming and the Wyoming Minor Baseball Association be approved, and that bylaw 97 of 2023 be taken as read 3 times, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign accordingly. Mr. Sabansky is with us. If there's any questions on that, I'll open the floor to my left. Deputy Mayor and then Councilor Wilbert.
Okay, you've used the Kamlaki agreement as a template, so is there any differences between Wyoming and the Kamlaki one?
There are some minor differences that arose from our review with both the association and with our lawyers. Once this agreement is in place, we will review it back against the Kamlaki one, sit down with the Kamlaki representatives, see what is working for them and what isn't, and bring both agreements to be better in line with each other.
Okay, thank you. So,
Anything else, Deputy?
no, that's it.
Councilor Wilbert?
Expenses, Adam, they pay the hydro stuff for the lights and all that, the association.
Yes, sir. The baseball associations are responsible for the lighting of the ball fields for evening play.
Do they do any, should ask that question, because I know they do. They spread gravel and stuff and rake it out and maintenance on the diamonds themselves. You see somebody out there quite often.
Yes, it's my understanding that both associations maintain the playing surfaces, except for the grass. The grass is maintained by the town. However, some of the associations do choose to go another step and have the grass watered as well, but the town mows and rolls the grass.
Okay. Lots of cooperation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Councilor Van Claveren, anything?
Nothing for me, sir.
To my right, any questions?
I just one for Mr. Spansky. I know at the Parks Committee level, there was concerns about the liability and stuff. Is this licensed area stuff? Is that the stuff that was tweaked to satisfy their concerns? Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, a motion, all those in favor? Great. Okay, let's go to 8.2. A motion by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councilor Van Claveren, that the report by Eric Campbell, Director of Fire and Emergency Services / Fire Chief, dated November 16th, 2023, regarding an application for Community Emergency Preparedness Grant be received and staff be directed to apply to the Community Emergency Preparedness Grant for emergency first response training and new RIT-3 packs. I believe this had came up previously at the fire committee. Wow.
Timing.
You.
Chief, we're just dealing with your report on the application for the EFR training and the.
I apologize for my tardiness.
All right, we know where you were. So I'm going to open it up. Is there any questions on this report? That's my left first.
I'll let the chief report.
Nothing for me.
Am I right? Chief, any comment on your report? We've all had a chance to read it.
Not really, just want to say, if we get it, it's a great opportunity. Either way, we are going with the FR standards, so this is a great cost savings for us, and the fact is, it doesn't cost us anything to apply, so I think it's a great opportunity.
Council, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, let's go to 8.3, a motion by Councillor Wolfett, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren. That the report by Dave Clark, Community Emergency Management Coordinator, dated November the 20th, 2023, regarding the establishment of emergency management program and emergency response plan be received. Mr. Clark is with us virtually. If there's any questions, I'm sure he'd be more than willing to answer them. I'll begin on my right. Councillor Bojan, any questions?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Councillor Basie,
Nothing, very good report.
Rodriguez. Deputy,
No questions. Thank you.
No questions, sir.
No questions.
all right. No questions. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Clark, for a good report. Thank you for joining with us. Okay, we're gonna go to,
Could I just add
Yes.
a comment, like we had a little test this morning on emergencies. And Mr. Clark was there and took charge of it and seemed to know what he was doing. So it was very interesting. Thank you.
I'd have a motion by Councillor Van Claveren, seconded by Councillor Wolfett, that bylaw 126 2023 being a bylaw to authorize an emergency management program and emergency response plan be taken. It's read 3 times and finally passed. The mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. And a motion by Councillor Bojan, seconded by Councillor Basie, that bylaw 127 of 2023 being a bylaw to appoint members to the town of Plympton-Wyoming Emergency Management Program Committee be taken as read 3 times, and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Council, you've had a chance to review that. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Let's go to 8.4. I have a motion by Councillor Basie, seconded by Councillor Rodriguez, that the report by Al Little, Operations Coordinator, dated November 15th, 2023, regarding a boundary road agreement with the Township of Enniskillen be received, and that bylaw 129 of 2023 be taken as having been read 3 times, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Well, Mr. Little is not with us. I believe Mr. Sabansky or Mr. De Silva can answer the questions. Anything on this one? Councillor Wolfett?
Any idea what we've been paying or what the cost is for this on a yearly basis from Forest Town Line to Oil Heritage?
Mr. Sabansky?
Snow plowing.
Thank you. There's no consistency to it because it's solely a per service fee. There is no annual fee for the program. We literally pay half of their costs for plowing the road. So at the end of each year, Enniskillen Township will send us an invoice, and the invoice will greatly depend on weather conditions that year.
It says no financial implications at this time, but in the first year we've done, it. So is it 10,000? Is it 20,000? Like,
I would have to go back and look at the actual cost, but the updating the agreement itself does not have any financial obligations because it is only continuing on what we've done for, I think, almost 20 years since amalgamation. So that is why that was noted in that way. There is a cost associated with it, but that cost has been incorporated within our budgets since my time here. If council wants, in the future, I can break out those costs, but it's all within the winter maintenance costs for the roadways.
that's fair enough. It must be reasonable if we're sticking with it.
It's very reasonable.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, council, let's go to 8.5. Motion by Councillor Rodriguez, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren, that the report by Adam Sabansky, Chief Administration Officer, dated November the 23rd, 2023, regarding the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority Category 3 funding request be received, and that a contribution of $9,940 per year, 5 years, be approved, and that bylaw 131 of 2023 be taken as read 3 times. The mayor and clerk be authorized to sign accordingly. Okay, I'll open that up for any questions or any concerns beginning on my right. Bojan, anything?
Thank you, your worship. I do have a few things. So my first one, and I guess the questions I'm asking will likely be directed to either Councilor Rodriguez as the board or Mr. Sabansky, depending on who has it. So my first one is probably for Mr. Sabansky. When it comes to removing the 9,500 for taxes and insurance, they made that thing in there just in case it's not transferred by the end of the year. Are we expecting it not to be transferred by the end of the year, or is it safe to say that's?
No, we're fully expecting it to be transferred by the end of the year. If it does remain in, though, keep in mind that it's an in and an out.
Yeah.
We bill them for municipal taxes and they bill us back for those municipal taxes.
Thank you. My second piece, so on page 17 of the staff reports where they have the general levy assessments for 2024. Which are the mandatory costs, I'm assuming, so not including this class 3 stuff. So we have a levy of 92,000, which is assuming that transfer takes place, I think. So in 2022, our levy was 76,000. In 23, our levy was 86,000. And in 24, our levy is 92,000. So we've had a decent increase over the years. We're the 5th highest increase this year of the 17 member municipalities. And at the same time, we're all receiving less service because it doesn't include the category 3. And we're also taking over the responsibilities and financial responsibilities for 2 of the biggest, most expensive lakefront properties that were once conservation. So I guess I'm just wondering if I'm missing something here, or if we're receiving less service and we have less conservation land, how come we're paying so much more?
Yeah.
Mr. Sabansky, yes.
So the value that you see in front of you did include the $9,500. So that would come off that, which would make us less than last year's. Highland Glen, before it was transferred to town, it was a regional park, which meant that all members paid towards it. The year before it was transferred or leased to us, it was deemed a regional park, which means the town would have paid a special levy for all of the operating costs of that park. That was also the same case as McEwen. The town had been paying all the operating costs for that park. So those operating costs were built into the Conservation Authority budget and assessed to us under special levy. So those are just removed from the cost. So we'd have to go further back to see where those costs come out than other what this sheet provides. The increase is calculated based upon your weighted average, which Councilor Rodriguez correct me, but it also takes into consideration your growth. So one reason we've seen our growth increase higher than others is because we have grown faster than others.
So I know we paid for operating, but for things like shoreline erosion and that type of quote unquote capital type stuff, was that not the responsibility of the Conservation Authority? It was always gonna come back to us, okay.
In some fashion or form. As a regional park, it would have been percentaged back to us. As a local park, we would have paid the vast majority of the cost.
And which leads me to now category 3, seeing as it's less services. I won't take up all the time because I'm sure there'll be discussion for this piece. My opinion for category 3 is we, of course, will probably want to look at it if our residents are using these services. I'm not sure if I can wrap my head around a 5-year agreement of $10,000 a year for such a fluid budget. Because we're talking about education programming, tree planting, stewardship. These are very dependent on how many people are using these services. So to assume 5 years, we're gonna be paying $10,000 a year and then no one takes advantage of it, then we're paying $10,000 and not getting any value for our residents is the way I'm looking at it. I get why they want to do it because it gives them confidence in budgeting, human resources and that type of thing. I know in the report, it says one other municipality has switched it to 3. I wish there was more flexibility proposed here where we can say, yeah, the school programming is really great. Let's keep that going, but maybe we don't do tree planting or stewardship. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Mr. Sabansky?
So there is flexibility on the behalf of council. This is a simple request on the behalf of the Conservation Authority. There is no legislated requirement for us to pay any of this. I have went with the full amount. But there is absolutely room for council to amend and suggest changes.
And which is what I mean by flexibility for this discussion's purposes. I know it's not mandatory because it's class 3. But that's my opinion on class 3 where we're at. I'm personally not comfortable doing 5 years at 10 grand when we don't know. That's just where I'm at to start discussion. Thank you.
Any other comment on that?
Wind out of the sail.
You can fight me.
No, very good. You looking at me next?
You next.
I would agree 100%. Like say the downgrading of the parks to the regional and everything else was still taking money out of their budget and putting it into our budget, and yet our budget keeps going up every year. I just don't understand it. Like, yeah, we would get stuck paying the bill, but it still takes money out of their budget. It saves them money in their budget, puts it in our budget. So no, I don't agree to any of it.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would agree. I'm not that we taking over ownership of these parks, we have increased our costs simply because we now have full ownership. So there were certain things we didn't do, not having full ownership, that we may be more responsible to do now. So I believe the 9,500 that will come off, we still do have an increased cost over last year. I just want to note that, Mr. Savansky. Adding this, we're looking at an 18% increase versus the 4% increase, our share being the 5.8%. I think that's a huge increase. This service used to come from grants from the government, provincial government, which they have stopped doing. That is their choice. And it's, I think, something between those provincial bodies to work out. We could always support our conservation authorities and saying, look, maybe you need to reinstate funding through some sort of motion to all different municipalities. I think that's the more appropriate way that we should look at getting the funding back to these conservation authorities. Asking our tax base to pay an 18% increase, I don't think is fair. No disrespect to the conservation authorities that I represent, but we also are responsible to our tax base. This also looks like it isn't even a set fee because it says they could come back once a year and ask for more money. The presentation that Mr. Phillips made to us back in August on there, there was the category 3 programs, and they did the 5-year average annual cost of those programs. And then apportioned, they'd be looking at what our portion of those costs would be over the 5 years. That equals 40,697 divided by 5 years, which is 8,139 was their ask at that time. So I'm not sure where we're going over that in our ask, by $1,800 per year. So there's that. I would agree that placing this burden on our tax base, I just don't agree with overall. But the private land stewardship in particular, that's subsidizing private lands and mostly in labor, because Conservation Authority is not losing their tree grants. So they still have access to trees for the different municipalities. I look at that $185,000 in the private land stewardship that could be going back into parks and rec that we could be setting aside to help improve our municipality as a whole and not just certain private properties. So I believe that's all the comments I have on this.
Okay, thank you. Very good comments. Deputy?
Yeah, certainly a lot of good points brought up by the former counselors, the previous counselors to my comments. I think we should, rather than just go ahead and pay what they ask, we need some clarification from them. And if we, like, how many students are we actually are benefiting from these programs? They've got 555 in Plympton-Wyoming listed here somewhere. Those 555 did they just come out of the school? Like, did they just determine how many kids were going to those schools, or did they actually join in all those education programs out there? And I think we need to know how many actually did. Maybe they could give us a number on how many did take advantage of those educational programs. Anyway, I don't think we just should lay down and say, yeah, okay, we'll pay the $9,000. We need some explanations. We need some. We've got some arguments for this, and like we're relieving them of quite a bit of expenses, but they're giving us more. It doesn't make sense to me. So.
This is a sidebar comment on that. There are, and I assure you, there's about 350 kids each year for sure go through agriculture in the classroom, which are part Conservation Authority is a big part of that as well. But that number I know is out there every year. Yeah. Just as an FYI.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah.
But you do have some very good points. Councilor Van Cloud. I'm sorry, Deputy, anything else?
No.
Okay. Councilor Van Cloud.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think there's a lot I can add to what's been said. For a good discussion, if they're looking for a 5-year plan, it may be wise to consider kind of a test year. So obviously we're going to land on a value, but I think we can maybe learn a lot in a year's time as to what exactly we require in our municipality and the load that the two parks are gonna add to us. I think that's about all I can add, but yeah, interesting discussion.
Councilor Wobet.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very, very good discussion, and my colleagues here certainly brought up a lot of points that I've thought of since reviewing the agenda. Personally, I don't agree with giving any money for this. This is clearly downloading. I appreciate the fact that the Conservation Authority have been taken to task by the provincial government big time in cutting their budget and making adjustments to their own master plan or long-term plan. And obviously what's happening here very clearly is that they're just passing the buck right down to the municipalities. We've had our own tree planning program budget here at Plympton-Wyoming for the last, I don't know, 5 or 7 years, Nettie, something like that. In fact, there may still be money in the tree planting budget that we haven't planted any trees yet. So we've been doing our own thing. The other thing, well, at times, yeah, but when I look at this here in private land stewardship, and we asked the question here in open session about, they talked about, 18,770 trees being planted on private lands. Well, private is private. I've owned farms, and when I wanted trees planted on there, per group, $50,000 to plant trees, which, by the way, we haven't been able to find places to plant trees. Right, we have a dead place. So I just don't agree with giving anything to this, and I feel bad about that, because I am in support of planting of trees and what the conservation authorities do, but I think they need to sit down and take a very seriously look at their own budget, what they're spending money on, and deal with what they got instead of passing it to us. So I'm not gonna vote in favor of a penny to this. Sorry.
That's fine. Mr. Saban, sorry, Councilor Bojan?
Thank you, Richard. I just have two things. The first one is, I think, the number I think it was 101.5. Was the first one, that's with the 95. So I think, so the number that we first said, the 92,092, that's with the 9,500 taken out already, is the way I'm reading it.
Sure.
Yeah, because there's two tables there. The first table is that we owe 101,592, and then the second table says we now owe the 92,092, which is minus 9,500. So I think the final number is 95 or 92.
That's correct. So it's $6,000 increase over the previous year without even accounting for the special levy, which also went up about $300 from the previous year, which will be removed. The closing date's actually December 20th, I was told. So that's when it's expected to be off of there, but it'll still be an increase over the previous year.
And my second thing too is, I don't know if council's comfortable with it, but I would agree with Bob. I can't support the motion that was tabled. But I would like to know personally how much it would be if we wanted to focus on education still. So we can still support the education aspect, just to see if they're willing to give us a number for that for 5 years. I would be open to doing something like that as an information seeking venture, just to see if that's something we can entertain.
If I may, through you, Bishop.
Yes, thank you.
In their presentation there on category 3 programs, the school and community programs. The portion cost over the 5 years was the $10,281 number. So that was over 5 years.
That's for everybody.
No, that's our portion cost for
Oh, I
everybody.
thought they were telling everybody.
Everybody's the 180,000. And ours over the 5 years is the 10,000.
So I guess we'd be asking if they're willing to do that.
Oh, everything is optional. So it's not whether they're willing.
Sorry, Mr. Sabansky, then Councilor Vacy.
So in regards to the education program, $4,000 a year is what their educational ask was. Of that total value, so it was $4,000. So obviously council's not in support of the motion as it sits. So there's a number of options which are available to you. You can defer it and request that the general manager of the Conservation Authority join you at the next meeting to better answer your questions in regards to the matter, and then you can form a motion after that meeting. You can approve an amended motion where, as suggested by Councilor Bojan, you only approve the asked $4,000 or of the $10,000 over the 10-year period, equivalent of that you see fit. Or you can defeat and suggest an entirely different motion, or just plainly defeat it and not support the request.
Counselor Basie, you had a question before I go on to the.
So if we decide, say the 4,000. Does that go directly to our education plan or does that go to their whole third category and they use it any way they want to see fit?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Goes to everything.
So,
And if I may, I'd really like some clarification on your numbers because I do see a discrepancy between. That I'd like some clarification on, as previously stated. In the
That-
presentation on category 3. The 5-year average annual cost. And then he's apportioned. The 10,281 for school. Education, private land at 10,000 and conservation services at 19. For a total of 40,697 over the 5-year period. Or 8,139.40 per year. So I'm not sure how the ask got to a higher number in their other document.
I can share the email, but I asked the general manager to clarify a number of items for me and including the final value of the ask. And when it was calculated out through the email, that's the value that he provided. So I can share that with council.
Yeah, which is concerning because it's not what was presented to us.
Counselor Bojan?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I can see where Council Rodriguez is looking now in that chart where it says the apportion cost for school and education and community programming. Our apportion cost for the 5-year was 10,281, which is just over 2,000 a year if we did 5 years.
Right.
So he might have changed it since that presentation because that was a while ago. But that's what the numbers we're looking at.
Counselor Wolvet?
Yeah, there, just a few things here, we, not even sure we own either park yet, although it looks like it's going to happen, but we've spent a significant amount of money. Look at Highland Glen Park, $100 and some $1,000, fixing the boat dock, which we didn't even own at the time. We even had to supply the outhouse, which they wouldn't even fund an outhouse, and we didn't. In bushes and everywhere else. Same with McEwen Conservation, they did things out there with gazebos and never even, tore it down and never replaced any of it and took the pads out and everything else. So we have contributed big time. Every year, there was extra levy put on there for studies and mapping and, we give it to them and we give them significant increases on a yearly basis. So we don't need to feel bad here because we're questioning them asking us for money that was taken away from them in their budget, but it just, and Nettie, I'm not exactly sure how much, but is it $5,000 a year we put in for trees, something like that? So, how much?
7,500.
Oh, 7,500. So, we have a significant amount of tree money going in themselves. Now, just maybe, and this is just a thought, that, if they could have some of that money to plant trees and give us a plan where they're going to plant them and how many they're going to plant, then maybe we could get out of, having to plant trees, but there's got to be more of a structure to this thing than just, we want, so $10,000 over 5 years. Like, we need to have a little better plan here instead of just giving money away. So, and I don't think their plan was very good.
Okay, so we've got comments. There's been great discussion on this, and I think it's very important that we've done what we've talked about. Where do we want to go with it? I think Mr. Sabansky has shared with us some options, if you just want to go through them again.
So we can defer this motion. Request that the general manager of the conservation authorities join you at the next meeting to provide you additional information, and then you can make a decision on the value and the term of the agreement after that. You can amend the current motion to a value which you see fit, or you defeat the motion and either suggest an alternative or just leave it, defeat it. Doesn't sound like carry the motion is an option as is at the.
For options.
Just a comment. I'd like to see us vote the motion up or down. And if there's any other follow-up, let them do the work and after us. I just don't think we should put a lot of time and effort into it. That's just my comment, sorry.
Other comments? Are we comfortable with that?
I liked your second option. Which was figure out what we should be giving them maybe, and then vote on that. We have supported the Conservation Authority for many, many years. And because the province is just getting stingy, you know, then you can't. What they're asking, because I don't think they can defend it.
Motion?
Just I know not everyone has their email up. Mr. Spancy did send the email out, so. It is 4,000 that they've adjusted it to. So for just the school and education programming is 4,000 a year for 5 years is what they're asking. If we went just that way.
Thank you.
Well, if I
Yes, go right ahead.
To me, it's not a matter of not supporting the Conservation Authority. I think this isn't the best way to support the Conservation Authority. I think through a letter of resolution or motion for a letter of resolution, you know, supporting them in that sense to get the government to reconsider these programs and services as value to these municipalities, to get that funding back, to download it onto our tax base in a tight fiscal time. I mean, and as this sits, it would have been an 18% increase, which is huge to this tax base. And when you're looking at, you know, this $50,000 over 5 years, how could we better be spending that as a whole in our own community? I have a hard time, like I feel bad that they've lost their funding because I think these are important services, but whose responsibility at the end of the day is it? And how do we appropriately support them? And through any other motion, when a lot of things get cut from the province, that's what we do. We say, hey, you know, we reach out as municipalities as a whole, say, look, we really find value in this, please change it, do something. More funding for our infrastructure, so that we can build more homes, things like that. We always look to support. Our responsibility here in this forum is to our tax base locally, not to the Conservation Authority.
Or Conservation Authority rep.
And no disrespect, but I'm not sitting here as the Conservation Authority. I'm sitting here as a representative of our tax base.
It's good.
So from what I'm hearing, I would throw out the option for you guys to consider. Do you want to defer this? Or do you want to defeat it? If you vote on the deferral, more information and bring.
On regarding the more information, that information is going to have to come directly from the Conservation Authority. I've tried to piece together presentations and emails into something, and we need more information so council can make an informed decision. So I think that information should be coming from the Conservation Authority.
Kind of sense. All right.
Sorry.
I just don't
We
understand.
already, in defense, Mr. Spansky's original thing, they already did provide the information in that email. So I don't know if they're gonna come back. I don't think they'll come back and say, yeah, you're right, we can do 2,000 instead. And it looks like they've apportioned it to Plympton-Wyoming versus the other ones. So I'm in favor of going back to Mr. Wolf as original and just vote on it.
Everybody comfortable if we vote on it?
Yes.
You want to amend it?
I would suggest we vote.
Is the mover and the seconder comfortable with that? That would be Councillor Rodriguez and Councillor Van Claveren.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll vote on it. All those in favor? You want the motion read again?
Motion, please.
Sure. I know it's been a while. The report by Adam Sabansky, Chief Administrative Officer, dated November the 23rd, 2023, regarding the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority Category 3 funding request be received and that a contribution $9,940 per year, 5 years be approved, and that bylaw 131/2023 be taken as read 3 times, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign accordingly.
Let me just understand this, okay?
Yes.
If we don't give them any money, let's say we vote this down, and we don't give them any money for these educational purposes. Then that doesn't mean that the programming isn't going to be approved, but it can certainly be affected. Am I correct?
Correct. Then Councilor Rodriguez.
For your worship, members of council could make a motion to suggest a different amount. Over a different term if they wanted, but yes, as of now, that would be 0. It would have to be different.
Yeah, because you've already mentioned that, they join in, tag in the classroom or so. There is evidence that they're working on that, so.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Your Worship. If I may respond to that. As a whole, in all the participating municipalities, the amount has significantly decreased. So even if we did provide this, it's going to affect it no matter what. We're not going to put a significant dent in any of that. And my fear is that putting this on the board, that it's not even going to be utilized because there's just not enough there. So. So I think we need to be realistic about this. And again, I would just urge us to support it through the province.
Did that answer your question, Deputy?
And it does answer my question. Yes, I think I'm quite clear on it now, and I hate to agree with Councillor Rodriguez, but I do agree.
And it's sad, really.
Okay, I'll move this along. We got drainage in 5 minutes, so everybody understand on this? We're clear? Call for the vote. All those in favor of supporting this motion? Opposed? Motion is defeated. Okay, council, we're gonna do one more and then we're gonna break for drainage. We have a motion by 9.1. Councilor Van Claveren, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen, that bylaw 128/2023, a bylaw to appoint Paul De Silva as the Director of Public Works, be having taken as read 3 times, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. All those in favor? Carried. Welcome, Mr. De Silva. Have a list on your desk in the morning. Okay, council, this time I'm gonna, this meeting on hold will come back at 9:2. At this time, I'll turn it over to Councillor Van Claveren and welcome Deputy Mayor Kallenberg from Warwick joining with us this morning. I'll go get staff and Liz in. So, Councillor, if you want to say who's on this first one.
Yes, indeed. I can release yourself, Mr. Mayor,
Thank you.
and Councillor Vacy. Thank you. Take a break. Hey, let's call this drainage meeting to order. It's 6 p.m. A special welcome to the visitors tonight that are with us, which is slim to nil, but if they might check in here briefly online. Just a reminder to anyone who may join us that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded, and recordings will be made available on the town's YouTube channel. This is a court of revision for the McAndrew and drain and the width branch. At this time, I'll ask if there's any declarations of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest at this time. If one does arise, I'll ask you to make that known and excuse yourself. The purpose of the court of revision is to hear appeals from landowners regarding the schedule of assessment only, as set out in the engineer's report dated August 28th, 2023 for the McAndrew drain, the WIF branch. The court of revision has no authority to change the engineer's report in any way. The schedule of assessment may be altered, but the total must remain the same. If one assessment is reduced, then the other assessments must be increased to balance. Allow me to introduce those on the panel on the court today. Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen. Councilors present is Kristen Rodriguez, Councilor Bob Wolvett, Councilor Alex Bojan, CAO Adam Sabansky, our Drainage and Engineering Coordinator Elizabeth Cummings, our Drainage Clerk Jessica Wilson is here, Director of Public Works Paul De Silva is here, newly appointed, Mr. Josh Warner from Dobbin Engineering Incorporated, and of course Ella is with us also, and she's manning the computer this evening. Mr. Warner, if you would kindly speak to the drain, that would be great.
Yep, so through the chair, I don't have a lot to add. We have not received any verbal or written appeals, and I'm available for any questions or comments from the court.
Any council members have any question in regard to this drain? Very good. The court confirms the assessments on the McAndrew drain WIF branch as contained in the engineer's report dated August 28th, 2023. And we have a motion here signed by Bob Wolvett and Alex Bojan that the court confirms the assessments on the McAndrew drain WIF branch as contained in the engineer's report dated August 28th, 2023. All in favor? Carried. We have a motion moved by Bob Wolvett, seconded by Kristen Rodriguez, that the court of revision meeting for the McAndrew drain WIF branch be adjourned. All in favor? Carried. Okay, with the exception of our deputy mayor, Nettie McEwen, all the councilors can be excused at this point. This is the court of revision for the Falconer Ramsey Lower Aberarder Creek. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest at this time? If there is, if you please make it known. The purpose of the court of revision is to hear appeals from landowners regarding the schedule of assessment only, as set out in the engineer's report dated August 22nd, 2023 for the Falconer Ramsey drain and Lower Aberarder Creek. The court of revision has no authority to change the engineer's report in any way. The schedule of assessment may be altered, but the total must remain the same. One assessment is reduced, then the other assessments must be increased to balance. Allow me to introduce the members of the court and staff present. Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen is here. Our Drainage and Engineering Coordinator Elizabeth Cummings, Drainage Clerk Jessica Wilson, Director of Public Works Paul De Silva. Mr. Josh Warner is our engineer, with RDOB and engineering. Ella, of course, is here and we appreciate that. And representing the Warwick landowners from Watford, Warwick, Deputy Mayor John Cohenberg. Welcome to our court this evening, John. You come highly recommended. I was chatting with Maddie at your office today and she speaks very highly of you. Mr. Warner, will you kindly speak to the drain, please?
Yep, through the chair again, there hasn't been received any written or verbal appeals for this drain, but I'm available for any questions or comments from the court.
Anyone on the court have any questions for Mr. Warner tonight? The court confirms the assessments on the Falconer Ramsey drain and lower Aberardic Creek is contained in the engineer's report dated August 22nd, 2023. I have a motion I'm going to get signed by you, John. Seizure. A motion signed by Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen and seconded by Deputy Mayor for Watford Warwick John Cohenberg that the court confirms the assessment schedule on the Falconer Ramsey drain and lower Aberardic Creek as contained in the engineer's report dated August 22nd, 2023. All in favor? That's carried. I have a motion here moved by Deputy Mayor for Watford Warwick John Cohenberg and seconded by our Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen that the Court of Revision for the Falconer, Ramsey and Lower Aberardic Creek be adjourned. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, everyone. That concludes the drainage court revisions. Thank you. At this point, we're going to take a 5-minute recess and we'll rejoin here in 5 minutes.
Okay, let's resume the meeting. I'd like to draw our attention. Our next one we're gonna do is 9.2. I'm going to declare a conflict of interest on this one, so Deputy, I will hand it over to you and I'll step out.
So it's moved by John Van Claveren, and seconded by myself. Somebody else better do this. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
You want me to do it?
Just to read the motion?
Yes.
Sign it.
No, just
Sign it.
please.
Oh, you signed it.
Would you like to second it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see it. Sorry. Denny.
And seconded by Bob Robit. That bylaw 130 of 2023 being a bylaw to authorize a license agreement between the town of Plympton-Wyoming and the Plympton-Wyoming Agricultural Society for the provision of an emergency shelter, taken as having been read 3 times and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Are there any questions on that agreement? Ms. Rodriguez?
Thank you. So this is the same location that was previously used for?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I just wanted to clear.
Thank you. Mr. Wolfett?
Is there a fee for usage?
Well, I haven't, can you answer that? I haven't noticed anything, and did we ever get charged when that Snowmageddon?
No, there's
Happened?
currently no fees.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes,
Sorry, one more question. I believe when we talked about this last year, there was discussion about,
a generator.
there was discussion about, compensation if we do use their, facilities.
I remember maybe more of a goodwill, kind of a
Yes, yeah.
gesture, yes.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The motion that was previously passed was for the donation for the generator, and in exchange, this generator would be ready in service and able for us to use in a shelter situation, and then the agreement. As a part of the motion, they wanted agreement to say who's on first, who's doing what. So that's where this came from, but no, not between our discussions or the Fair Board. Once they reviewed it, did any fee exchange take place.
Okay,
I think it's the donation
okay,
kind of covers that.
okay, thank you.
Since that's gonna be an emergency shelter, what about the whole bed situation? Remember that discussion on having a trailer with a bunch of beds and everything in case that had to be used as emergency shelter, or where are the beds, or whether the Fair Board would rent us a room for the beds? So you got a building, but what about beds and stuff? If we have to send 400 people there.
My understanding is there's beds that are currently throughout a number of our facilities. I believe some are at our fire halls.
That's correct.
And I actually understand from talking to our CEMC as well as the county CEMC that they're going to be taking an inventory of all the beds through Lambton County, seeing where there's weaknesses, and then working with the local municipalities to help strengthen those weaknesses.
Okay, I think that's a fair comment, because we had a big discussion on this, not only through the fire department, but on trailers for beds and mold, and this could come up at any time, having to use that for emergency. So we better see it with your emergency group. I think it's a priority item to discuss it. It kind of goes along with this topic. So thank you.
Okay. So, all questions have been answered? Are we going to pass this? Is everybody in favor? Everybody in favor? Against? Oh.
You're so quiet.
She was.
Oh,
Yes,
okay, carried. Bang. Through. don't we have to pay for the generator now or something, or
Yes.
half of a
Already
generator?
done.
That
Okay,
donation
so-
was already made.
What?
That donation was already made.
It's already done?
Yes.
Last year.
In the
You
budget.
approved the motion for the amount.
Has it been made?
Donation's not been made.
No.
Sorry, the amount has been made.
The amount, yes.
That's.
My apologies. Thank you.
Anyway, done.
It did. No, wrong. I apologize.
No, please apologize.
Okay, Court, let's go to item 10, correspondence. Any items under that?
Nothing for action required.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to item 11.1. I have a motion by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren. That correspondence items A to Y. A to Y relating to recommended reading and routine approval and information items not otherwise addressed by resolution. We noted as received by the Plympton-Wyoming Council and filed accordingly. Council, that's A to Y. Is there anything that you would like to pull and recognize beginning on my right? Councillor Bojan?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Vaizey.
Item R, the resolution by the municipality of Wawa to increase the credit for volunteer firefighters. To up it from 3 to 10,000.
Anything else, Councillor Vaizey?
That's the only one that piqued my interest.
All right. Councillor Rodriguez,
Z,
Z.
the only letter. missing. It almost went through the whole,
We did go through, we combined some.
I was kidding, sorry. R, Counselor Basie, already pulled R, and S and T.
S and T, strong mayor powers, and T, Minister Smith leave to construct. Threshold.
So in the strong mayor's powers one, it was more to the point where, and I'm not sure why it was titled that way. Because they talked about, it was the wardens. Were you at that, Mr. Mayor?
The wardens, no, I don't think so. No, the
Oh, that would be,
Wardens Association.
sorry, that would be
Yes.
the warden.
I'm not a warden.
Not yet, okay. In there, they were talking about the need for more funding from the government for infrastructure, how rural and smaller municipalities are critical to overcoming the housing and affordability crisis on Ontario. So there was other subject matters in there that I felt were important for us to support.
Anything else, Councillor?
The leave to construct threshold, I don't know if everybody read it. So that one deals with gas, and we've talked here a lot about the need for gas to expand their services into rural municipalities. Their threshold's currently at 2 million before they have to go through this whole regulatory process. That's been in place since, I don't know, forever, 1990 something. And they want to increase it to 20 million to reflect more current costs and allow them to get services to some of these areas they haven't been able to because of this threshold being so low at 2 million. So I felt that was important to learn as well. Sorry, what one is that? So S and T were
S and
my
T, yeah.
letters.
I know everybody talked about that when prior to the election, that there was discussions in our rural areas needing natural gas. For sure. Any other thing else, Councillor?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor? Councillor Van Claveren?
Mine were chosen, sir. Thank you.
Councillor Wolvet?
I think I'd just like to support Mr. Vaizey on the resolution, Wawa tax credit for volunteer firefighters. But I would ask one question to the chief. Sir, roughly how many hours are our volunteer firefighters putting in a year? Because this in order to get any tax credit, you got to have at least 200 to get.
For sure, sir, yeah. I say at least 70% of our volunteers are well over that. But I would say a higher number or close to that or marginally surpassing it.
that even makes my support for R even stronger. So yes, definitely support.
Mhm.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Just, I have nothing to pull myself, but just an observation on number H, the municipal elections updates. It's now they're giving the responsibility of the voters list. They're taking it away from MPAC and giving it to the chief electoral officer. There has been concerns over the last numerous years. The feds weren't talking to the provincial wasn't talking to the feds nor the municipal. The goal eventually was to get all under one so that the voters list is unique. And it's going to be all the same. So no, we're not fighting one another, having to reinvent the wheel. I just noticed that is in comment to share with you. So we do have a couple to pull from that, clerk.
Give me 1 second.
You go right ahead.
I'm putting those into together. Maybe both of them.
Oh,
Well, your worship, we have a mover and seconder, Councillor Basie want to move item R and will that seconded that. I need a seconder for S and T regarding from the Western Ontario Warden's Caucus about those two items. I'll amend this.
We'll need a seconder for that second one. Van Claveren.
Second, T, please.
I put them together.
Oh, that's fine.
They're both from WOW.
I had them both here actually, so that worked
Oh,
good.
Okay, thank you. Do that one first.
Okay, I have a motion by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren, that correspondence items A to Y relating to recommended reading and routine approval and information items not otherwise addressed by resolution be noted as received by the Plympton-Wyoming Council and filed accordingly, save and accept for items R, S, and T. Okay, you've heard that motion. All those in favor? Carried. Motion by Councillor Basie, seconded by Councillor Wolvette, the council support correspondence items R from the municipality of Wawa regarding tax credit for volunteer firefighters. All those in favor? Carried. A motion by Councillor Rodriguez, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren. The council support correspondence items S and T from the Western Ontario Warden's Caucus regarding strong mayor powers and leave to construct threshold. Questions on that motion? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, council, let's go to item number 12, new business. Councilor Wolvette, anything new for new business?
No, your worship, not tonight. Thank you.
Councilor Van Claveren,
Nothing from you, sir. Thank you.
deputy,
No, sir.
Councilor Rodriguez.
yes, sir.
Okay.
I just want to ask. From our previous subject on the Conservation Authority, how we go about doing a letter of resolution. To pass out to other municipalities to have the provincial government reconsider their cutbacks on some of those services.
Your worship, you could make a notice of motion saying that you would like to bring this forward and staff can work with you on the wording of said resolution. And then it could come to a future meeting for council to consider support on.
So can I make a notice? Oh, no. Do I do it now? Sorry.
How about we bring the notice of motion to the next meeting?
Okay.
Yeah, so we have time to work on it. Yeah, that's the process.
Anything else? Council Basie?
Just a reminder, Christmas in the Village is the 9th. Santa's showing up at 5:45. There's a lit antique tractor parade as well as horses, free food, free drink, free everything. Santa will be Sunday morning at the Legion for breakfast. And then in Kamlaki in the afternoon. So he's got a busy weekend. And
I heard he has a helper too. Where in Kamlaki?
he could have a helper here too.
No, Kamlaki.
All right.
What are they serving in Kamlaki, Mike?
I hope something.
Kamla, it's the Optimus one. I don't know if
Yeah.
they're having, there's no meal. It's just,
No, it's just food available like hot dogs, stuff like that.
Meet Santa.
and they have mule rides there, I believe.
We probably mules, yes.
What time is
A
that?
few of them- there's-
Wagon.
There's a few of them out in Kamlaki.
When would that be, council?
Santa is there, I believe at 1:30.
I think so, around that.
Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday.
So breakfast will be the 8th, 8 till noon, I believe, and then 1:30 out in Kamlaki. That'll be the 10th.
Okay, thank you. Council Bojan?
Thank you. Just to build off of that, there's also a home holiday light competition, Plympton-Wyoming wide. So if anyone's putting up Christmas lights and want to submit, check out the events committee Facebook page
All right.
and everything for me.
One thing for me, I did want to share with council or our residents. The Plympton County Accessibility Committee is looking for a volunteer from within the community to sit on that committee. If anybody knows of a resident within our community that would have an interest in that, please either get us hold of myself or Lori Webb from the county. There's a vacancy on that committee as well, so it's there if somebody's interested. Yes, Councilor.
Is that posted somewhere?
I do not know. I was just informed of that today.
Oh, okay.
So it may be going on the county website probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I have. Under new business, clerk, do we have anything in closed session this evening?
No, nothing.
All right, let's go to.
Might have been mentioned a little while ago, I wasn't listening, but Roma registration for January 21st to the 23rd, that's only a few weeks away. Will that be coming out for us to register or not to register? What?
Your worship.
Yes. Mhm.
That was sent to members of council in, let's say, October or so. Registration already open in rooms, but if you're interested, we could see what we could do. So,
You have already sent that out?
yeah. We could still do it. There's no deadline. There was early bird pricing, but I don't think it's closed for registration. You just may not get a room at the conference.
Yeah.
You won't get a room at the conference. The mayor and I registered about 4 weeks after not even, maybe 2 weeks after the housing opened up, and we were at a partner hotel, not at the conference hotel.
Oh, okay.
So, and I think the early bird ends, if not this week, very soon.
So is it just 2 that's registered to go so far?
Good Roads is coming out shortly to register.
Okay.
Let us know if you want.
Well, if them 2 are going, I think they've got us covered.
Okay, anything under, item 14.1. Go. Motion by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Basie, that bylaw 132. 2023 Being a bylaw to confirm all resolutions of the council meetings held November the 27th and 29th, 2023. Be taken as read 3 times and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to set this bylaw accordingly. All those in favor? Carried. And before I adjourn the meeting, I want to say to council that, first of all, thank our staff for the reports this evening. There was quite a few that we went through in a timely manner. Thank you for the preparation of them. To our deputy clerk, thank you for managing the patrols this evening. And I have one announcement, the Christmas gift that our staff are preparing for residents of our community that we do every year. A note from Executive Assistant Wilson that cutoff date is tomorrow. So if you haven't made a contribution and you are, I can share that with you at this time. So council, I have a final motion moved by Councillor Basie, seconded by Councillor Bojan, that the regular council meeting be adjourned until the next regular meeting be held on December 13th, 2023, Wednesday at 5 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you for those that have joined with us virtually. Thank you, council, for your attendance and your participation this evening. This meeting is over and